Hi everyone, Gary Coleshill here, and you are in the right place. This is Understanding Annuities with Scott Rulon of Rulon Financial. He's going to explain to you how you can increase your retirement income with the help of annuities. So, Scott, you can take it away and start explaining. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Gary. Today, I'd like to talk to you about how to survive in retirement without running out of money. So the goal of this presentation is to show you the only way to have a successful retirement and the 5 critical steps you must do to protect it. So one of the things that I'd like to tell you about, there was a client named Jim that came to me one day, and he was about to retire from the radio station. He worked as a radio engineer his entire life. And he got in front of me. He brought in his retirement portfolio from his 401k, and he had exactly $135,000 in that. And I asked Jim, so Jim, how much do you spend per month? He said about $35,000. I said, do you realize that based on what you spend per month, along with your Social Security, that you will run out of money in 4 years? That's a tough conversation to have with a client. That's the type of conversation I hope to never have with you. So one of our goals here is to perform an analysis called a retirement income shortfall analysis to tell you how you will not fall into the same situation that Jim did. So the information we have here is presented by a licensed professional, which is me, and not specific to any individual personal circumstances. We will cover some tax matters, but remember, this is just an illustration, and this in no way indicates where you are. That's comparing to apples to oranges. To know where you are, we'd have to meet in person at some point. In person could mean over Zoom, but we could talk about where you are and how we could get you to a better place so you're not in Jim's position. So, anybody recognize this place? Well, this is the stock exchange. And this particular picture took place on March 20th, 2020. Most of you may remember that's the same day that the government declared COVID. Believe it or not, the stock market fell 30%. You think this trader's under a little stress? Well, this is the kind of stress that I don't want you to be under. So let me tell you about the traditional retirement income model that most of you've seen. So in the past, we all had something called a pension. On top of that, we had Social Security and we had some savings. But that model doesn't really work anymore. That only protected a small amount of income. The majority of the risk was on, guess who? You. And you had to be able to provide enough assets and rate of return in your own savings to cover what dwindled and doesn't really exist in the pension world anymore. Pretty much if you work for a city, a state, or police, you still have a pension, or perhaps the federal government, but those really don't exist anymore. Then you have Social Security, that may get you 30%. So the rest of what the impetus was put on you through this thing called a 401k, 403b, etc. The retiree, your businesses that you work for place the risk on you. What do? Well, if you're like me and you went out there to look at the internet for some answers, just look at all the different answers they had there. They give you these beautiful pictures of places to travel. They show you grandkids. But guess what they don't show you? They don't show you how to do it. There's an old set of commercials over time. This was from a company called Voya, and they used to ask, so Scott, or so Mr. Client, what's your number? In theory, this was the big number you had to reach by the time that you retired, so you had enough income in retirement. Who knows this character? Well, if you live in kind of the church world or in the radio world, you see this man, Dave Ramsey, very famous for cutting up credit cards. So Dave Ramsey, he talks to about 70% of the population. So if you are a talk show host like him, Would you talk to the 70% who can tune in and buy your products? Would you talk to the 30%? I'm here to train you how to get beyond the 70% into the 30% where Dave Ramsey doesn't have a whole lot to say about anymore. Anybody know this guy, Kramer? Mad money. So Kramer hits these bells and these alarms, and he's always on there something about how you can make more money. So here's some real headlines from real newspapers. Retirees might run out of money 10 years before they die. The crisis in America for retirement savings. Americans do not have enough retirement savings. Well, you can certainly see where this is going. I didn't make any of this up. America has the widest retirement gap of developed nations, and it's only getting worse. Do you know how much money this nation has invested in credit cards and even student loan debt? Student loan debt's over $1 trillion today. You can just look at the national debt meter and see where that is. But today I really want to talk to you about 4 risks you have. Longevity risk, that's how long you're going to live. Stock market risk, who knows what the stock market's going to do on the day that you retire. Income taxes, long-term care, inflation, and to a lower extent, mortality, how much you withdraw, deflation, inflation. I'm sure all of this gets very confusing. The only way for a successful retirement is through an income plan that protects your money from the 4 key risks. We are calling that the retirement income framework. So we want to learn how to spend confidently, regardless of the economy. So maybe you want to take care of your grandkids. Maybe you want to go to places like here. This, I believe, is the Vatican. Maybe you want to have an expensive hobby like photography. Or maybe you just want to be able to eat out more than once a week. So let's teach you how to spend confidently regardless of where the economy sits. So what I want to introduce you today is the retirement income framework. We are going to identify, protect, reduce, invest, and manage your retirement. So let's talk about determining your current financial status. So I think most of you will recall this drawer. We certainly see it at home all the time. And so our particular drawer is right after we walk into the kitchen. If you look to the right side, we've got this drawer that has all kinds of stuff in it. This is why we can never find anything. So many of you also have a retirement junk drawer. It has things like Social Security, savings, 401k, 403b, individual retirement arrangements, life insurance. Well, all this stuff is wonderful, but what do I do with it? That's why I'm here. I'm here to help you with all that. So this was a rather famous article that was written in the Harvard Business Review. You'll see that this one goes way back to 2014. But you know what? Things haven't changed. The crisis in retirement planning. He says our approach to savings is all wrong. We need to think about monthly income, not net worth. And the author's name is Robert Merton. So we don't want to be like my client that we talked about earlier, Jim, who just hadn't saved enough. You can't come to somebody at the end. You need to come to somebody early and get some help. So we need to think about monthly income, not net worth. So that whole Voya thing about your number, I think that's planning things completely the wrong way. So there's a couple things I need my retirement to do. I need my retirement to cover my essential expenses. That's like my house, my food, things of that nature. And then there's the discretionary. There's my wants. What do I want my retirement income to do? So one of the things I would encourage each one of you to do is, and if you listen closely, we'll provide you a worksheet so you can do this at the end. Write down what all your essential expenses are per month. So we want to have protected income to protect all those. And let's write down what our discretionary things are. Do I want to take trips? Do I want to go out for dinner? Do I want to pay for my daughter's wedding? Do I want to pay for my grandchildren's college? These are the discretionary things. So we'll call the essential things my protected income number. So let's go on to protect. Maximize our guaranteed lifetime income. So this is a recent article from Time magazine. In fact, this one is a little older, from 2012, but it hasn't really changed. They said that securing at least a base level of lifetime income should be every retiree's priority, at least if they want to live happily ever after. So what you have here, this is actually the road to Death Valley. One of the hottest places in the world and the lowest place in California and the United States. So pretend like you were driving in a car and you looked at your gas gauge and you saw you had a quarter of a tank. What would you do? Especially when you come up on a sign that says next gas station, 150 miles. What would you do? I suspect that you would slow down in your car a little bit and take some time to make sure you can make it to the next gas station. Well, many of us should be doing that with our retirement. So here's the average length of retirement. For a 65-year-old male, you can probably count on living another 18 years. For a female, that's another 20 years. But here's the interesting thing. For those people that are married, you can probably count for another 24 years. So you've got a long road to the next gas station. So we need to be careful in how we do things. So what is our definition of protected income? Well, it's guaranteed income for life, backed by a government or a financial institution. We want it to increase with inflation. And each year you choose not to start income could mean more money in the future. So 3 sources of protected income. We got pensions, we have Social Security, and we have annuities. Annuities are very simply just a savings account at an insurance company. So knowing that pensions are pretty much gone for most of us, the only corporation I know still has a pension is AT&T, and that pension was founded in 1915. I know most of you don't work for AT&T, so that's not working. Well, if I work for the state, local, or federal government, I might have a pension, or work for the military. That's true. But how many of us work for those places? I would guess most of us work in private businesses. So let me give you an example of the monthly Social Security benefit example. So, and remember, this is a hypothetical person. So I can start my Social Security as early as age 62. And in this example, that person could get $1,500 a month. And for each year that they wait beyond there, they get some extra money. And so if they hit that retirement age, for some of you it's 65, others 66. And for somebody like me, it's 67. So that's where I get my full retirement benefit. If I'm willing to wait till 67, 68, 69, or 70, I'll get an extra 8% a year. But how many of you can really wait? So the other thing you also ought to think about is what type of money that you're giving up. So if you give up that $2,000 a year and you wait for a couple more years, you're giving up $24,000, $26,000, a lot of money each year. So that may not be the best thing for all of us. So certainly Social Security is something called a COLA, cost of living adjustment. But do you know how much the government fools around with cost of living? You probably never realized that even under President Clinton, they traded hot dogs for hamburgers in the calculation just to make the government inflation numbers look better. Go figure that. So if we're looking at a lifetime Social Security, if we took it at age 62, that's kind of our gray box right here. If we took it at our full retirement age, we'd get this extra little segment. And if we took it at age 70, this is the extra little segment. So you can see what a big difference this means. But the thing is, can you wait? Because sometimes the stock markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. So your Social Security statement looks something like this. It's on a white piece of paper. So Social Security benefits, however, were not intended to be your only income source when you retire. On average, Social Security will replace about 40% of your annual pre-retirement earnings. I personally think 40% is kind of generous. I think it's probably more like 30. So we've gone through the three sources of protected income: pensions, which really don't exist anymore; Social Security, which really covers 30 to 40%, and annuities. So what is an annuity? It is a personal Social Security-like stream of guaranteed lifetime income from a top-rated insurance company. So here's the beauty of that. Once I start taking my payments out, many of these are tied to a type of COLA, but these days it's usually you can increase your payment 5 or 6%. So you can see how that can be advantageous to you over the years. So they offer inflation protection a lot more than Social Security does, that's for sure. So annuities are often knocked because of their limited liquidity. That means how fast you can get your money out. Some of them have high surrender charges if you take your money out early. And they're also knocked for the fees inside of it. A variable annuity, wow, those charge about 4%. But if we looked at some of the equity index ones, I will tell you that the fees are a lot more reasonable, maybe 1% or less. So these are usually the knocks against annuities. But on the other side, it's great to have principal protection. Who would love to have mailbox money, also known as guaranteed lifetime income, and to have inflation protection as well? So let's talk about the other thing. Who's heard the old joke, there's only two true things in life: death and taxes? That's correct. So one of the things you want to do in your retirement is reduce your taxes. You don't want to have to pay more. So here's an interesting thing about taxes. Did you know that the highest marginal tax rate was close to 86%? And that was at the time of World War II. So taxes have obviously gone up and down over time. And so one of the things that you're betting on, there's two ways taxes can go. They can go up or go down. Well, if they go down, you're probably all set, no big deal. But what if they have a 50% chance of going the other way as well? We need to be careful about that. So actually, the average tax rate over time is 57.1%. So that means more than 1 out of every $2 you make goes to taxes. So I'm not just talking about income taxes. Don't forget about sales taxes and property taxes and excise taxes. There's all kinds of taxes out there. So how do we save on taxes? Well, we got the mortgage interest deduction. We got child exemption. We have contributions. Well, fortunately, with mortgage interest, as your payments on your interest go down, guess what? There's a chance you might never be able to itemize anymore. Child exemptions, guess what happened to those? Those are gone. Qualified contributions. Well, you got to give an awful lot of money away to charity to get some extra money off on your taxes. So those are probably not the best ways to reduce our taxes. So in life, we really have what we call 3 buckets of money. We have our taxable bucket, our tax deferred bucket, and our tax-free bucket. So taxable bucket, it's like your 1099 income, your W-2 income. But wouldn't it be fair to say when we put water in that bucket, it leaks out because of taxes? Well, number two, we've got our tax deferred bucket. So that's like being tax pregnant. But in the future, when you pull that money out, guess what happens? You're right, the government taxes it. There is another way in here that's really not described, and I like to call it the partial tax bucket. So for those of you that own land or real estate property, you certainly know about the miracle of depreciation. So with depreciation, that can sometimes reduce your taxes. So a 6% tax rate might only be a 4% tax rate, so that's a good thing. But the last bucket is a tax-free bucket. So there's 529 plans. Thing with 529 plans is they can only be used for education, can't be used for anything else. If you take them out for something else, guess what happens to them? You're right, you get taxed. We've got Roth IRAs, so we put money in a Roth IRA. So true, that does come out tax-free. And the other choice is we can take money out from a universal index life insurance policy. All great ways to earn income. So the Roth IRA is a tax advantage individual retirement account that has no income tax on withdrawals. Problem is, if you are a well-earning couple and you earn more than $206,000 a year, guess what? You can't give to a Roth IRA. Universal life insurance. Well, it's a Roth-like account with a unique combination of tax-deferred growth, tax-free distribution, and tax-free wealth transfer. So if you were to look at America, so we have the top 25% of earners in America, and we have the bottom 75%. If you were Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman, which group would you concentrate on? You're right, you'd concentrate on the bottom 75 because they're the ones that are going to go buy your products. The top 25%, guess what? They don't need Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman because they've already done what you've done. But what do you do when you've already done everything that Dave and Susie say and you're still not ahead? So, and in fact, in case you didn't know, the top 25% pay 86% of the taxes. Does that surprise you? So in 2017, to be in the top 20% of wage earners in America, you only had to make $83,000. I know for some of you that seems like an astronomical number, but for others, you're going, wow, that's it? That puts me in the top 20%. I make that, but that doesn't get me anywhere. Well, you're exactly right. So let's talk about step number 4, invest. Gross surplus assets. So here are the average stock market returns over a 30-year period, a 10-year period, and a 1-year period. Over a 30-year period, the S&P 500, that's just 500 of the biggest stocks in America, they earned average 10%. Over a 10-year period, they earned 13.1%. It's true over the past year, they haven't done very well. But here's what I want you to see. As an average investor, would you be surprised to know that you only earned 4.1% or 9.7%? Why did you earn so much less? That's because we invest in stocks emotionally. We buy high and sell low instead of what we're supposed to do. So show me where most people buy. Well, I see a lot of people like to buy up here and here when they should be buying down here and here. You ought to think about that next time. That's why there's value in a financial advisor. They can keep you from doing stupid things when the stock market goes down or up. So here's all the US bull and bear markets over time. So obviously there's been a lot more bull markets. Bull means up, bear means down. The question is not if, but how many times will the stock market drop during your retirement? You know, when you don't want it to drop is the day that you retire. So you have to be really careful. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is doing an annual review. I will tell you one of the things that we do in my household is every few months we get together and do a financial review of where we are. You should do that too. But my job as a financial advisor is probably to meet with you at least once a year so we can review where you're at. So as life changes, so does your plan. Do you want to pay for your daughter or son's wedding? Do you want to build a new small business? Do you want to pay for your son's college? Or what if you're disabled? What will you do? So one of the things we like to do is perform an annual performance review. We will help you put together an income plan summary. We will give you an overview of your performance review. We'll look at illustrated versus actual results, and we will do a needs assessment checklist for you. So here's what we discussed today. Current retirement savings model is busted, broken, gone. The only way for successful retirement is through an income plan that protects you from the 4 key risks: longevity, stock market risk, income taxes, and inflation. The retirement income framework is a 5-step roadmap that helps you spend confidently no matter what the economy is. So, how would you feel if you were on an airplane? Do you have confidence in your pilot, even when there's a bumpy ride? Well, that's what we as financial advisors and insurance agents do. We help you through the bumpy ride. So you can have confidence in us like you have confidence in your pilot, or you probably wouldn't get on a plane in the first place. So one of the things that we'll do for you is we will put together a retirement income shortfall analysis for you. All you have to do is fill out a few pieces of paper, and then we will put it in our software and actually help you break down what your retirement should look like. So we will give you a retirement success score, a yearly breakdown of account withdrawals, a notification if it looks like you're falling on the wrong side, and we'll give you recommendations to enhance your score. So tonight, I'm just going to give you one scenario. This isn't necessarily any of you, but it'll give you an example of what we can do for you. So we have a male, 55, and a female, 52. Current income, $150,000. Their desired income was $120,000 a year in retirement, and they have investable assets of $1 million, and they're able to put away $30,000 a year. So currently, what type of secure retirement do they have? Well, Social Security was their only secured income source. We recommend repositioning $300,000 of investable assets into deferred fixed annuity. So also, all their assets are in taxable and tax-deferred buckets and not using any tax-free resources. We recommended redirecting the $30,000 of annual savings into an index universal life policy. Currently, they have 100% of their savings exposed to stock market volatility. We would recommend having some protected income sources to be established to cover these essential expenses. So, looking at scenario number 1, with this couple, they had a probability of 41% of making it through successful retirement. By listening to us and listening to those 4 suggestions, what we were actually able to do is giving them a 95% probability of successful retirement, a protected income number of 82%. So it's not just Social Security anymore. And the good thing is, because we didn't have to spend down all the assets, they had a lot of assets that had time to grow. So that's a great way to kind of refurbish or check how we can do retirement different. So today I'm really not going to cover, we had a couple other scenarios, but I promised you we'd do this in just half an hour. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to email us so that you can get your own retirement income shortfall analysis. We will conduct a 60-minute exploratory meeting. We'll look at your latest account statements. We'll calculate your protected income number, and we will help you complete a client assessment form. And then we will review this analysis in a follow-up meeting. As a special bonus, especially if you act today, we will give you a balance sheet so you can schedule out what your essential number is, so that we can calculate a protected income number for you. So today, I want you to learn how to take back control of your retirement. Meet with us, whether it be on Zoom or in person. We'll help you fill out this balance sheet, and we'll get you going in the right directions. So what if you already work with an advisor? Never hurts to have a second opinion, does it? Maybe we can show you things that they didn't, but that's completely in your ballpark. Will I be sold something at the appointment? Absolutely not. Our goal is just to give you suggestions, and you decide how you want to move forward. So how much in savings do I need to have? That's different for everybody. I couldn't give you an exact amount. So take back control of your retirement now. Let us help you with the retirement income shortfall analysis. Let me give you the bonus retirement lifestyle worksheet, and let's get you on the right path to retirement. Thanks so much for joining in.
Thank you very much, Scott. That was very informative. If anybody has any questions, feel free to contact Scott on 602-824-2299, or you can call me on the 888 number. That's 888-894-2929. Thank you very much for everyone for attending today, and goodbye for now.